One of the core fundamentals which I use to coach small to mid-sized business owners is the 5 steps to freedom, a predictable set of organizational development steps business owners typically must go through to achieve their goals. As the business begins to leverage the economies of scale in step 4, it allows the business owners to begin the process of extracting themselves from the business by further empowering their teams to run the business for them. The time management plan is a critical step in that process. But what is a time management plan? The centerpiece of the time management plan is Stephen Covey's time management matrix. The basic concept around the time management matrix is that time is one of those assets that is irreplaceable. Whether you invest it or spend it, it's gone forever. Any of us can look at all the things we do within our day and do an assessment of where we invest our time. Welcome to Summit Scale, where entrepreneurial leaders come to learn how to grow their small businesses into mid-sized companies. So Covey's matrix breaks down the things that we do within our day into 4 quadrants. You've got important things and non-important things, and you've got things that are not urgent and things that are urgent. And the combination of these 2 criteria make up these 4 quadrants. Most business owners spend the majority of their time in quadrant 1, where they are actually working on truly important things in their business that are urgently pressing on them to get done. So these are crises, pressing problems with employees, clients, or orders and projects that need to get done, firefighting, putting out fires and taking care of emergencies, major scrap and rework on things that needed to be done and out yesterday, and deadline-driven projects. So most business owners spend most of their time taking care of these things, urgent and important for the health of their business. A lot of business owners also spend their time doing things that are not important. So these are things that are not important but seem urgent, usually because they are other people's priorities, and so include things like interruptions, when somebody with a strong personality comes in and interrupts, certain phone calls that come at you like they're urgent but they're really not that important in the scheme of things, some mail, some reports, some meetings that you have to attend. A lot of business owners will spend time doing these things that seem urgent but are really not important. And then you have this whole category called not urgent and not important. And this is basically time wasting. Again, a lot of business owners waste time doing trivial things, busy work, junk mail, phone calls. These are time wasters, basically, vocational time that you waste. As business owners, where we need to spend the majority of our time is in quadrant number 2. This is the stuff that is important to the business but is not necessarily urgent. In other words, no one is holding a gun to the business owner's head, making them do things that basically amount to preventative maintenance in some cases. Things like budgeting and forecasting, like investing in important relationships so they have the strength when the relationship comes under pressure, like marketing and sales, like new account development, like educating him or herself as a business owner. These are all the kinds of things that prevent fires down the road that become urgent. In production, capability activities are increased by doing these kinds of things, recognizing new opportunities, planning and recreation. Recreation is another way of saying recreation, and it basically means you're recreating your space. Covey talks about sharpening the saw, but here's the interesting thing about the way it works, and this is the critical point you need to understand. The more time you spend in quadrant 2, the less time you'll spend in quadrant 1. I'll say that again. The more time you spend in quadrant 2, less time you'll have to spend in quadrant 1. When you don't spend enough time on prevention and proactive things to grow the business, manage it and take care of your business, you will end up with more crises and firefighting. So understanding time is a valuable asset, and disciplining yourself to spend more and more time in quadrant 2 will actually minimize the time you're forced to spend in quadrant 1. So the tool I use to do that is the default calendar. This is really nothing more than a plan for how you spend your time. It's like a budget. If we don't budget our money, we'll just spend our money in an undisciplined fashion. Same is true with our time. If we don't plan on how to spend our time, we'll spend our time in an undisciplined way. So the default calendar is basically a budget of how you're going to spend your time. And remember, all the time management plan is to assess how your time is being spent and then get control of how your time is being spent and how we get control of it by using the default calendar. If you'd like to experience a free complimentary coaching session with me, go to www.summitscale.biz/consult and book a call to see if you qualify. I'm Shane Spears of Summit Scale. See you next time.